if you look at ourselves like we are a part of nature or we are a garden, the more we're growing, the more we're alive.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the One Way Ticket podcast. My name is Abby, I'm your host, and today I'm joined by Jen Stockwell. We're going to talk about all things building your dream life in your 30s. Let's dive in.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming, Jen.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you for this opportunity. It's good to catch up again in a podcast studio that's not in a treehouse.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Would you like to introduce yourself, Jen?
Hey, I'm Jen. I'm from the Gold Coast in Australia. I currently live in Phuket, Thailand, where I've been for the last, I left Australia just over 2.5 years now. I first started in Bali. I was here for the first 6 months and then moved to Thailand, and literally the lifestyle has just been incredible.
Amazing. What made you move to Bali?
Well, that's a great question. I already had a beautiful life back on the Gold Coast. I'd been in business for, over 10 years, working as a freelancer. I've got my own marketing agency, and the Gold Coast is a beautiful part of the world too. And I guess what I wanted to sort of see and experience in the world was to expand and explore and to have more experiences. I think when you're comfortable in your own life, it adds that element of like familiarity, and when you're familiar with things, you kind of wonder like what else is out there in the world. And I saw how beautiful Bali was, and I thought, let's go and see what it's like. And I'd already done holidays to Bali before. The serenity, the beaches, obviously the beaches in Bali don't really come close to the Gold Coast beaches, but you've got like a different perspective. You've got rice fields, you've different cultural perspective.
Absolutely, yeah, different culture as well. Different environment, I guess. How old were you when you moved to Bali?
I was 30 when I moved to Bali.
You just moved to Bali at 30. Okay,
so
new country.
I'm 32 now. I turned 33 this year, next month. This was always my dream, I think I always wanted to create like a lifestyle which enabled me to be able to travel around the world. And I think like nothing's really impossible, and the whole idea of being able to create a business that allows you to either become a digital nomad, to be a content creator, to travel and see beautiful places around the world, you need to have a plan and a dream. And it's not to say that these dreams are out of reach. It just comes down to having that decision of making things a reality.
You had already a thriving business in Australia. So how was that transition for you, and how do you navigate the uncertainty from moving from your comfort zone, leaving your home country, to starting a new life in a different country when you've just turned 30?
That's like a great question. I think I sort of look at it in a way, or the perspective of, I didn't really see it as starting new or starting fresh. It was, for me, just a new chapter. And it was exciting as well, because I never really had a set plan of how long it was going to be or how long it is. After a couple of years now, my first initial goal was for it to be 6 months. That 6 months went by really quickly. And before even leaving Australia, I had my one-way flight booked to Bali. And, I think a lot of people have this idea of, book a one-way flight and then see where life takes you. But what I didn't realize is, booking my flight into Bali, I also needed an exit flight. And I was at the airport and they said, "When's your exit flight?" And I said, "Oh, I didn't have one." And they're like, "Well, to be able to come into Bali, you actually need to have your exit flight." And that was when I was at the airport and I had to book my flight. I thought, where can I go in the world where it's not too far away from Bali that I'm still going to allow myself to enjoy this adventure? So I just plucked a city out of nowhere on the map, and that city happened to be Phuket. When I did go to Phuket, I was like, this is beautiful. Like, this is one of the most beautiful places I've been to. How beautiful and how different it is as well, living in like a new country and a new place. And it wasn't really to end my life in Australia. No, that sounds quite depressing. I mean, end that chapter of my life in Australia. It was more to see and explore like what else there was around the world. And I really wanted to, explore Bali. But then when I booked my flight to Phuket and to Thailand, I thought, this is absolutely amazing. And then I did a bit of traveling around Southeast Asia as well.
Absolutely amazing. So it was a bit unplanned. It wasn't fully planned, because your plan was just to be there for 6 months, which now have turned into you moving to Thailand.
Yeah.
How do you navigate the unknown?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, as human beings, we always like the comfort of certainty. And, we like to know that things are certain.
Absolutely.
We like to, and that gives us that feeling of safety as well. When you have a routine, you have an expectation of like what life is like, and you kind of know how you go about your day. But you know, with a lot of certainty, it gets boring. You know, if you have more uncertainty, it gives you that feeling of excitement and adventure. You know, you might not know what's happening, you know, next month or next year, but if you can have a routine and structure that you've already got the autonomy from, you know, in your life at home, you can create that anywhere. You know, if you can work from home, you know, doing the work that you do, whether it's as a freelancer or, you know, in a remote job, or even your work that allows you to do, that gives you remote work, then you can take that lifestyle and, you know, live that overseas as well. And I think if you allow yourself to be in that flow, and you can be vulnerable with like the universe has always got your back. Like if things haven't always worked out the way that you think they will, then it's because there's something better that's around the corner for you. And I think being okay with like being in flow and letting each day come as it goes, and it does make things more exciting as well.
Let's talk about a topic that I know a lot of women watching this podcast are going to feel related to, which is love.
Yeah.
How can we make space for love? And we have this dilemma where we want to live our best life, we want to travel, start a new life somewhere else, but we also want to make, you know, space for love, for connection. How do you navigate that, Jen?
I think that's a great question. Thanks for asking. And, you know, why not have both? You know, I think sometimes we think we have this either or mentality. And if you make time for things that are important for you, you allow space for that as well. And it's about prioritizing that. And what I'd love to share with you is like the stones in a jar analogy.
I love this analogy. Jen shared it with me a couple of days ago, and I haven't stopped thinking about it since then. So please go ahead and share it with everyone.
Yeah. So I think when you look at, I guess, life does get very busy sometimes. So picture like a jar. And in this jar, you might have little pieces of like sand, you've got like small rocks, you've got bigger rocks, but they've all got to fit in the jar because all of these things are really important, right? So you might think, oh, you've got all these email tasks to do, you've got these calls with clients, you've got projects to complete, content to create, you've got ad campaigns to run, Google Ads reports. You know, there's all these hundreds of little things that are important. So they're like the grains of sand. Mm-hmm. So you're putting these grains of sand in the jar, but then you've got birthdays and special occasions and all these bits and bobs. So that's also really important. Like you've got your mum's birthday, you've got like, you know, your anniversary and things. So these are like your medium-sized rocks. So you're putting these in the jar as well, and you're constantly topping up the jar. But then you've also got the really big things in life that are so important to you. And it's like, these bigger things are your core values. It's like your dreams. It's your goals. It's the love that you have in your life. But they're the last things that go in the jar. So instead of putting all the smaller tasks in first, the smaller grains of sand, the best way to make it all fit is to put the bigger, most important things in life first. So what truly lights you up, what makes you so happy, and prioritize your happiness as your core values as the bigger rocks. So we're putting these bigger rocks in the jar first as your 4 main core pillars, and you can live out these 4 most important things every single day, and then everything else fits in between the gaps. Then you can put in the medium-sized rocks, and then you can fill the jar with the grains of sand, which fills in the gaps in between.
But which 4 core values
well, for me, I would say my main 4 core values and my 4 core rocks are love, health, freedom, and growth. And when you get to live in alignment with those values every day, you don't put external pressure on materialistic things. You don't need external things to feel that sense of fulfillment because you're aligning yourself with what feels important to you. So that could be like going to the gym in the morning, that could be going for a walk on the beach, it could be having a coffee, that could be sharing, you know, beautiful experiences with, you know, a friend at dinner. It could be, you know, all these things that that we think are basic. It's like, no, let's prioritize what we need in our life. Then once we prioritize that, then we can give back, and we've got more energy to give because we're already feeling fulfilled in ourselves. You know, pleasure over pain. And I think sometimes we say to ourselves, no, I'm allowing myself to feel pleasure once I've done X, Y, Z. But what if you spin it on its head and you do what lights you up first? And, you know, go to the gym in the morning, go for a run.
Absolutely.
You know, really hacking our own biological chemistry, what really makes us human, what makes us feel alive. Because, you know, at the end of the day, like, we're human beings. We're not human doings.
I love that so much.
Like, I think there's so much pressure on us to always be busy, which I think is great. Like, it's always important to make sure we do what we say we're going to do. And, like, you know, in business and with our clients, if you under-promise and over-deliver, you'll never disappoint.
Absolutely, you'll never disappoint.
Yeah. Sometimes having a to-do list, there's so many things to do that you get this, like, analysis by paralysis. But if you look at focusing on doing, like, your one main important task first, and you batch create your tasks, like, you might put, like, you know, an hour of your admin tasks, your emails, your calls, your Zoom meetings on a certain time period. Then you have your creation tasks. You might have, like, your content creation pieces, your reels, your client edits, your podcast edits. And then you might have, like, your other tasks as well. And then it just makes your time more valuable because you're delegating exactly what tasks need to be done without becoming overwhelmed by decision fatigue. And I think that also wastes a lot of time too.
On the days that I wake up and I'm stressed because I have a long to-do list and I decide not to go to the gym and I go straight onto my laptop, I feel stressed all day. I feel unproductive. Do you feel overwhelmed? Do you feel, I don't know which tasks to prioritize first? And it almost seems contradictory when you're really busy and you have a really long to-do list for me to tell you, no, wake up in the morning and spend time doing this and doing that. It seems contradictory, but it's actually not, because
it does.
It makes sense to the analogy that you shared, because you are pouring your big rocks first, you're prioritizing that, and that's what fills up your cup. So then you feel good about everything else that's to come.
Exactly. And then you can give more. Like, when your cup is full, you can do more because you feel good. When you feel healthy about yourself, you know, you're physically healthy, you're mentally healthy, you're financially healthy, and you're spiritually healthy, then you're so full of love and life that you're like, how much can I help others feel this way? Absolutely. And then you want to share that, and then you want to do more and be more of service to others as well, and help others achieve the dreams and the goals that they have.
Absolutely.
Because you know that it's possible. You know, life isn't meant to be suffered. Life is meant to be enjoyed. The more gratitude that we have, the more we get to see and experience and to feel as well. And I think that comes back down to love as well. The more love we have in ourselves, the more love we can give.
So how long have you done it for?
So I guess just being in business in general, like being back in Australia, I set up my first business when I was 20. But let's rewind the clock a little bit more. I went to university quite young, straight from school. I was 17 when I started university. Yeah,
really?
And I graduated at 20.
No
Literally, I was like, no, I want to get ahead and I want to get things done. You know, I didn't want to waste time. So I did a Bachelor of Journalism and then finished and sort of set up my first business by accident. I had launched and had several business ventures along the way. And yeah, my first business was kind of just by accident because I was working freelance. I did all these different internships, went into the whole pathway of like setting up my business from there. Had quite a successful video production and sports video production business when I was in my early 20s. It was called Oz Sports TV.
Crazy.
Traveled around Australia, filmed all these different sporting events, and then that business sort of changed into being more about, then I was doing weddings, and then I was doing other corporate, like commercial products, and then it turned into the marketing side of the business in my mid-20s. So it's been more so marketing now in the last 7, 8 years. Yeah, it's all been about change and adaptation. And in my mid-20s, I went back to uni because I thought, I had this great business, maybe I need to learn how to do it the right way.
Okay.
But there's no real right way in life. No. You kind of learn and do these things in experience over the time. So in my mid-20s, I guess once I went back to uni, I found also one of my lifelong best friends, and I said to myself, I think life is so much about like connection and the service that you can offer to the world too. So my digital nomad journey, it kind of started, like the whole idea started, I think even when I was a teenager. Like I always loved the idea of travel, and I think people kind of squash your dreams when it's not in alignment or a reality for them, because they might look at it from the perspective of, well, they haven't done it, so why should she be able to do it? But these things take time. Like it doesn't mean that it'll never happen. I think that's like the beauty of whether it's dreams and success. These things do take time, and like being in business and as a freelancer for over 10 years now, my digital nomad journey I guess started a couple of years ago. But I've always felt that, if I can work from home, I can work from anywhere in the world. And same to you, if you're listening now now. Like you can literally, if you can work from home, if you have the autonomy and the discipline to be able to work from home, you can work from anywhere in the world. And I think discipline is also one of these things where it's focus too. And focus is like a muscle. You have to train it. The more you can like become disciplined in the dreams and goals that you have for yourself, it's like, do you really want this as a lifestyle for yourself? Do you really want your dreams to happen? And some people might really, really want these dreams to happen, but they don't want it that bad. It's like, unless you say to yourself, like, I'm going to do this no matter what it takes. And some people just don't want it bad enough. Like, whether it comes down to like being a content creator, being a digital nomad, being a famous singer, being like an artist, being like an astronaut, like, these are real dreams. And it's like, don't ever let anyone stop you from the dreams that you want to live, because anything is possible. And like,
absolutely, we are a testimony that anything is possible.
Exactly.
And anything is possible.
I'm just like a normal, ordinary girl that,
like, we don't come from, like, we had parents that gave us everything we needed.
Yeah.
But then we don't come from luxuries like, oh, I'm gonna give you this chunk of money, go and live your best digital nomad life. No, we started from scratch. We started businesses in our early 20s by accident, both of us. Me too. Finished university, finished young, you did so many things young, but you've always had this passion and this drive, isn't it? And anything is possible.
Exactly.
And it just takes discipline and hard work.
It's amazing how like you end up surrounding yourself with so many similar people when you're in environments that you really love to be around. Like, we're so similar in that right now we both have, marketing agencies where we have like cosmetic clinic clients where, in that industry, which is quite a high demand industry. And we're also so similar in that, like we set ourselves like big dreams and big goals and aspirations for ourselves. And it's just like there's no limit in terms of like dreams you have and what goals you can set for yourself, because absolutely anything is possible.
Anything is possible. What does freedom mean to you, Jen?
Oh, that is such a great question. I think looking at the term freedom, for me, discipline is freedom.
Absolutely.
And it's freedom in every area of your life, whether that's, the discipline of your health. Like, are you disciplined enough to choose to have a fully enriched lifestyle of like healthy foods that support your physical health? And then I think even people look at freedom as you need enough money to be free, which I think like is definitely, like, you need money to survive. Like, we need to make a living for ourselves. However, like, money isn't the only factor that makes us feel free. Once you've got your established financials of like what you need to have a fulfilling life, I think one of the best ways to feel free is to let go of anything that weighs you down, because then you feel so light, and then you can travel to where you need to be. You can set up a dream lifestyle, and you don't really need that much to survive. Like, we've got our, the whole theory of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where you have like your food, water, and shelter as your physiological needs, but then you've got your psychological needs as well. That feeling of love and connection, the feeling of self-confidence, and one of your highest needs is self-actualization and creativity. So when you can create, whether it's your dream life, whether you can create exciting projects, whether you can create deals or investments, whether you can create, relationships, with other similar people, this is what makes us feel so alive. And I think that's one of the biggest secrets to success. So what does freedom mean to you, Abby?
To me, freedom is being able to make choices, to make decisions. It's when you have the power to make a decision. And I'll just share a quick story that I shared with you earlier today. Obviously based in Bali right now, and I love my life here in Bali so much. But during Easter, I had to fly back to the UK for 2 weeks. And I remember feeling a bit like, are you really that free? Do you really have that life that you wanted? Because now you have to try to fly back home, and you've made all these commitments and, work and blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, actually, yes, I am free. And me hopping on this flight to go to see my clients, to go to see these photo shoots, to meet my team, to see my family, that's freedom, because that's a choice I'm making. No one is telling me, you have to be here at this time, you have to do this. No, these are things I've created, and these are things that I've decided. And to me, freedom is choice.
Yes.
It's just you being able to decide what you want to do.
Exactly. And I 100% agree with you there. Like, freedom is really just a feeling. And it's that feeling of freedom that we have that allows us to feel free in our day-to-day life. And, you know, there might be people out there that might say to you, well, I don't have the freedom to do what you get to do. It must be nice to have that lifestyle. I'm stuck in this job where I'm not satisfied, I'm not happy, or I'm stuck in this relationship, or blah, 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 which definitely makes sense. However, I feel like if there is a situation or an event that happens in your life where you do feel like you don't have control of your circumstances, which sometimes we don't have control over the weather, severe accidents, or things that can happen in our life which we don't have control over.
Absolutely.
However, there is one thing that we always have control over, and there's one thing that always gives us a sense of freedom, and that's we can't always choose what happens to us, but we can always choose how we feel about what happens
Absolutely.
to us,
How we react to
how
it.
we react and how we feel. And I think that also gives us so much more self-awareness in terms of when you're aware of that, you know that you have the power
Absolutely.
to have that freedom.
Has this always been your idea of success and freedom?
I would say, you know, when you're in your early 20s, you have this mindset of you need to make as much money as possible.
Oh,
and I think
same, girl.
I went through that phase of thinking, you know what, making X amount, I'm going to be successful, or making this, I'm going to be successful. But, you know, like, money isn't really the goal. Money is a tool. My original meaning of success, like back when I was at university as a poor broke uni student, which most of us are when we're quite young, you literally stretch every single dollar to go as far as possible, which I think also gives you a lot of life lessons too. But what I would say to myself is, when I'm in a position where I can afford to buy a coffee any day of the week, I am successful.
Wow.
And that was my meaning of success. And that was because I put meaning onto that thing. And I think a lot of people put meaning onto things, which it's kind of contradictory, because that's what we think we feel is true. You might think, buy yourself a Lamborghini. If you can buy yourself a 7-bedroom house, you know, if you can buy all these like rich things in your life that you think is successful, or even earning a certain amount of money, or having a certain amount of followers. Like, you might say to yourself, you know, when I'm making, you know, $100,000 a month, or $1 million a month, or when my net worth is X amount. It's so much money orientated, and it's kind of sad, because there's so much of this feeling that we think we're tied, that our net worth is tied to our own self-worth.
Absolutely.
Which, is that really true, or is it something that's a deeper feeling for us? So I really think and come from the belief that, you know, money isn't the goal.
Absolutely.
Money is a tool, and freedom is the goal. So success is more of a feeling. And it's all about finding those little wins throughout the day. The success of, you know, giving a stranger a compliment in the street.
Absolutely.
It's, you know, patting a little dog in the morning, feeling the sun on your body, making the bed, doing something nice for your partner, feeling the sand between your toes. And the more little wins you can feel throughout the day, the more successful you feel. Because when you achieve certain milestones, you tick it off the list, and that feeling only lasts so long. And then when we realize that, you know, it's not these things that we're trying to accomplish, it's the feelings that we have deep down that are so important to us. Because it ties back down to, like, this is who we are. Like, we are human beings. We want to feel. And when you can hack the feelings that, you know what, I want to feel successful every single day. I don't just want to have to wait until I'm married with kids, or have, you know, a certain amount of like properties in my portfolio. Like, I want to feel that now.
You know what? I remember the first year that I did my business, it went so well. I didn't have my agency yet, but I was just freelancing, and I was making a lot of money, and I was becoming cash rich, but time poor. How did that translate? I was making a lot of money. I was starting to travel. I was going to Dubai. I was going to all these places. But then I remember going to Dubai and being in my hotel room working on my laptop all day. And it was my birthday. On my own birthday, I had to work. Before my trip to Dubai, I went to Madrid to see my mom and my siblings. I spent that whole week with my laptop from 8 a.m. to 7 a.m.
Yeah.
I'll wake up in bed. My mom will come to my room, and she'll find me on my laptop working. And I will stay on my laptop till 10 p.m. And I remember that week, I did nothing with my mom. So every time I fly to Madrid to spend time with my mom and my siblings, we always do something. Like, I remember I cancelled the plans, and I was working, and I was focused and earning money. And then I remember a couple of months later, I was like, this is not sustainable. Like, yes, you're making all this money, which was my goal. To me, that was success, my business. But then I'm sacrificing my health. I'm having nightmares every single day, because I go to bed thinking about work. I go to bed, we've had this issue, and I wake up thinking about that. in the morning. So I don't feel rested. I don't know if it's ever happened to you when you go to bed at night time and then you wake up the next day and it feels like you didn't sleep.
Yeah.
You were sleeping.
I know that feeling all too
well. But it feels like you didn't
Your
sleep.
mind just can't rest
Your
and
mind
recharge.
can't stay.
It's
And
always
it's happened.
go.
Absolutely.
And everything feels urgent.
Everything feels urgent. Everything feels urgent. I remember I put on weight. I wasn't going to the gym because, again, I was like, I just open my laptop, edit, send messages, calls, or start working, sacrificing the gym. So I reached the limit and I felt very burnt out. And I want to say I was doing this lifestyle for, I want to say a year until I felt really burnt out. And fun fact, I met you at, like, when I went backpacking in the Philippines, that's how I was like, I'm ending this burnout. Literally, when we
on
all
the Southeast
met.
Asia trip. Yeah, I can't believe that was a couple of years ago
I booked it for myself. I was like, it's not realistic. And one thing about me that I love and hate, I'm very determined. So when I want to make something happen, I will give my 100%. And sometimes when you give your 100%, for me that means working 15 hours per day. And to me that trip changed so much, and it changed my idea of success. And it made me realize that success is not just money. There's no point in being cash rich and time poor. Success is also living, being.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And it's amazing how, like, there's so much pressure from society to make you think that, you know, if you're so financially wealthy, that's success. But in reality, there's 4 types.
It's 4 types of success.
Well, I would say there's 4 types of wealth.
Okay.
So we're very aware of, like, financial wealth in terms of, like, you know, money, assets. But then you've also got time wealth. Like, how rich is the time that you spend in your life? Like, that's another form of wealth. And then you got social wealth. Like, how rich is the connections in your life with your friends and family? And do you prioritize those connections with friends and new people that you might meet in your day-to-day life? And then you got your health. And, like, your health is so important because this is the only body that we get to live in and get to enjoy in this reality. And when we can be aware of the 4 main areas of wealth and not prioritize one over the other, it's amazing how enriched our life is by spreading out the joys that we get to experience in this world. I think when we look at wealth in those 4 main categories and we can balance those categories out evenly, you just feel so much happier about the life that you're living every single day. So I think don't always sacrifice, you know, financial and time wealth for the sake of social and your physical health. Success is such a strong emotional feeling for all of us as human beings. And looking at it from the point of success and, like, your social ties with, I guess, family and fulfillment, and I think society really makes us feel that being successful might mean, you know, having a marriage and having kids and a family and a big house and a fancy car. And there's so much pressure on, you know, on young women to, you know, get married at an early age or to have kids. And, you know, is that the whole idea of what success is, or is it so much more? And you know, where did this whole idea come from in that you are successful when you're married or you're successful when you have kids? And it's like, why do we need to put so much pressure on women instead of just, like, going with the flow and being in alignment with the universe has got our back and the time is right when the time is right? You know, whether we're putting pressure on, you know, women or our friends and family or even our partners, it's like, when the time is right, the time is right.
I know so many girls that are living beautiful lives and they have all this freedom that we spoke about, and they're living the dreams that they've always wanted to dream. However, because they're not married or they don't have a boyfriend or they're not engaged or they still see themselves as unsuccessful, as they still haven't made it. It's like, I've done all these things, but I'm still single. I've done all these things, but I don't have a ring on my finger. And, like, when did we decide collectively that that's success? That's what success looks like when you're 30 plus. Like, when did we decide there's more to life?
There's so much more. And I love, like, what you were saying there as well, because, like, there is so much more, and it doesn't necessarily mean that this one particular area of life is someone's version of success. Like, it might be for someone else. And what you were saying then as well, you know, they're living this dream life of what they're doing in their day-to-day life, which might have always been their goals and aspirations for them, but something's missing, but something else is missing in their life. However, if coming from the point point of view of like a communication style perspective, if their partner or themselves are looking at themselves in that way, it could also be an opportunity of growth for them too.
Absolutely.
So they're seeing this as like, oh, I'm living this wonderful life, sharing and being grounded in the appreciation of where they are now compared to where they were. And there's so much more to experience, and there's so much more to enjoy, without putting that added pressure of, I'm not there yet, and that's not always a bad thing. And this is like a great opportunity for me to be aware of, and there's so much more to enjoy, and there's so much more to see. And things happen organically. Like the universe might allow you to meet that person in several different occasions, like going for sunset walks, or you might have similar interests, like you might go to the same gym, and then from that these beautiful connections happen because it was going to happen anyway. Nothing is forced. And like that's one of the most beautiful things, where you can just allow yourself to be yourself, and you don't have to pretend to be anyone else. And that's when you get to see your partner's true colors as well, because you can build those strong foundations of, do I like this person as a friend, and then do I like this person more than a friend? And that brings together a really beautiful relationship too, because if you can't like someone, how can you expect to love them as well? And that's one of these things too, which I think a lot of society gets wrong, in that I sort of see it as love is a garden. Whether it's the love of your life, the love of your work, the love of your career, love isn't something you find. Absolutely. Love is something you create. And there's so many different love languages. We have 5 love languages, so there's different ways of like showing and expressing our love. I won't go into too much detail, but we all know what most of them are, with, you know, in terms of physical touch, words of affirmation, acts of service, quality time, and gifts. And I think it's not about just saying those magical words to show and express, you know, love for each other. You might be feeling it every single day that your partner might hold your hand. They're secretly sharing their love for you. You might be sharing it, you know, every time they give you a warm hug, they're sharing their love for you. They might be sharing their love, you know, when, you know, they're doing chores around the house, whether they're cleaning the driveway, and they're sharing their love for you. And I think when you remove the added pressure of like what society thinks success should be like, or what thinks love should be like, or that what society thinks you know your dream life should be like, it's all part of the process. And it's like it comes back to the whole purpose of creation. When you can start to build and create a life that's fulfilling and meaningful to you, you feel so much happier and fulfilled because you're constantly growing. And it's like, if you look at you know, ourselves, like we are a part of nature, or we are a garden, the more we're growing, the more we're alive. Because if you were to see a small, like a flower drop dead, or you see a tree drop dead, the reason it's dropped dead is because it stopped growing. But the more we can keep growing and become better versions of ourselves, and it's not to say that we want to change ourselves. I don't think you should ever change who you are for the sake of fitting into those around you.
Absolutely.
It's more of a case of, if you're not enjoying the life that you are in now, it doesn't mean you need to change. No one should ever change who they are to fit the mold of what's expected of them. Absolutely. But sometimes if you take who you are as a character, or who you are as a flower, if we picture ourselves as a flower, and put ourselves in a new garden with sunshine, with water, with the room to expand, this beautiful flower can become a huge sunflower. And I think that allows us to really enjoy the beauties of life. You can feel that sense of love and connection every single day. And I do believe, like, the more you give, the more you get. And that's the same for business as well. The more you can help others succeed in their brand, or in their life, or in their business, the more you can help uplift the vibration of who they are as a person. Absolutely. To show how incredible they are, to really shine light on the skills that they have, the passions that they have, the creativity that they have, and the knowledge that they have. We can come together to empower others to be the best version of themselves, rather than nitpicking little things that aren't perfect, because no one is perfect.
Absolutely.
And we're always going to be wanting to become better versions of ourselves, but we can become better versions of ourselves without having to feel like we need to change, because we're all unique in our own personal identity and values, and our characters and personalities and backgrounds. And I think it doesn't matter like where we come from, who we are, or what we do for a living, or dreams and goals and purpose in the world. Like, you know, when when our life comes to an end, we don't get to take our possessions with us. We don't get to take our house and our fancy car and,
Absolutely.
you know, all the fancy jewelry and things that we think is so, that defines our success. We're going to, you know, end up in the grave one day. And if we're on our deathbed and we haven't felt like we've achieved the life that we've wanted to achieve, and we're living a life that feels like it's true for someone else, it's like, what life, whose life are we living? And for me, I've always thought, you know what, this is my life. And I want to live my life the way I want to live it.
For you.
For you,
exactly.
Not in the expectations of anyone else.
Of anyone else, exactly. Like, want to get married and have kids because that's what your parents expect from you, but then that's not your priority right now. I just feel like you can have everything and things happen when they need to happen. Things happen at the right time.
Exactly, 100%. And I think like when you don't always know who's watching and who's like
Absolutely.
inspired by your personal life. And I think even for like people that I was inspired by when I was a teenager and I was in my early 20s, and I would look up to these people and be like, oh, this is incredible, like this life that they get to live. And it's possible for anyone to live as long as you set yourself the right amount of time, deadlines, dreams and goals, and you never, ever, ever give up on the life that you want to live, but enjoying the process along the way. You realize that the greatest fulfillment and happiness isn't found at the end of the road. The greatest fulfillment and compassion and happiness, it is the road. It's like, and if you can enjoy skipping along the journey along the way, you'll be celebrating every single day that you have as one of the best days of your life.
That's beautiful, and that's a beautiful way to wrap up this conversation.
Yeah.
Jen, this was amazing. Thank you so much, Jen. This was a beautiful conversation, and I really hope, I know it's going to inspire so many people watching this. Thank you so much, Jen, for sharing your story, for sharing all these beautiful tips and all these beautiful things you've shared with us.
Thank you for having me. And thank you as well for the opportunity to be on your podcast. And I'm excited for how this podcast evolves and to see, you know, where we end up in the next 5 to 10 years and what our next path will have for us.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you as well. And thank you as well for watching.